If you work from home with a pet, then you know the absolute chaos. We love them. They're chaotic, right? So how do we keep working from home with them? Like, what is that? Dirt on my chin? Definitely from her. Awesome. I have successfully worked from home with pets for 6 years now, and I'm gonna tell you all the tips and tricks on how I've scaled a company while having a dog and a cat, where the cat regularly attacks the dog. The cat is very needy. The dog is beyond needy and extremely codependent on me. And while we talk about this, we're gonna make a coffee and we're gonna open up my Prime Day packages. All right, so the first thing that I'm gonna tell you is to learn to work with your pet's energy instead of against it. Dogs and cats have a natural circadian rhythm, not unlike the one that we have as humans. You just kind of need to learn what theirs is. They're gonna have natural points in the day where they're, more hyper or tired and napping. It's your responsibility to learn that. And then you can structure your day around that. So obviously you're gonna wanna have your deep work sessions structured around the times of day that, they're not as hyper and maybe they're going down for a nap. I'm putting espresso in the espresso machine if you see me disappear. If you know you have an important call and you have a hyper dog, like my golden retriever who's 3 years old, then you're gonna wanna intentionally tire them out before said important call. So then they sleep, right? Also, learning your animal's tells before they start to escalate. So for example, if the cat's gonna attack the dog, I know that that's about to happen because her tail gets puffy and she gets like really agitated. So I know like, okay, I need to separate them, or the cat needs enrichment, or the cat needs some loving. And then finally, like when they demand attention, so I have this with my dog a lot. She'll come up to me and she's just like relentless. You have to just sometimes lean in. Like it's going to stress you out more to continuously try to defend and deflect her attention. Sometimes you just have to lean in. So structure your day, learn their rhythm, learn their tells, and at the end of the day, understand that, they might be telling you like, hey, I think you need a break, and they probably are right. Quick break for the espresso. Yum. She is beauty, she is grace, she is in a Halloween cup. Okay, continuing our conversation now that I'm caffeinated and opening boxes. The next thing is figuring out how to buy yourself time, and specifically focus time, especially if you are my target audience for this channel, which is an ambitious female who's either growing a career or company, or you have, weird noises, aspirations to do so. Buying back focus time is going to be very important. Oh, this is, I believe, the wallpaper. Yeah, I got peel and stick wallpaper for my office, and it's like textured, but I thought it was supposed to be green. This doesn't look very green. So how do you buy yourself time? Erica, get to the point. Enrichment tools are underrated and they're pretty affordable. If you have a pet, pets are expensive, so I'm gonna make a broad assumption that you can afford some type of productivity tool or some type of enrichment tool. So the first one is a Kong ball. You can get those at actually all of these you can get at PetSmart or Walmart. Lick mats, snuffle treat mats, Kong balls, that can all buy you like 30 minutes to an hour depending on like how complex of one you get. My shoes came. They're so light. They're the Mizuno Neo Zen. I'm a runner, if you couldn't tell. And I've been a Brooks girl for like a year, but Brooks couldn't get me my shoes for like another week and a half. So I went with Mizuno because literally my shoes right now, the treads, you can see my socks. Other ways to buy yourself more focus time is if you have to go to an in-person meeting, get a pet camera. Ours is a Casa. I'll link it in the description. But essentially I can go on and just like check, or it will tell me when there's motion, and you can buy the subscription so you can see like rewinds. I just buy it live, and it's just kind of my peace of mind that there's like no active fights breaking out at home. The way that I think of these is that they're not really luxuries for me, but rather they're tools that help me do my job and complete the work that I need to do for the day. So if that helps you with the reframe, that really helped me. But figure out ways with your pet's home and distracting you that you can continue to buy your time back. And I've done that through, we're a big fan of Kong balls, and I do have some snuffle mats that they like, and then my cat has like a puzzle thing. We have guest bath towels in charcoal gray. Hopefully you all knew this was coming, but of course I'm going to talk about systems. You need to build systems that optimize interrupted focus instead of trying to avoid interruptions. Because if you are working from home and you have pets and your pets are high energy or disruptive, it's just simply not feasible. So how do you do that? You build for resumability. If you assume that you're going to get interrupted a lot, the hardest part of being interrupted is getting back into it once you've been interrupted, right? So you need to build systems that make it easy for you to resume. Things that I do is for all of my recurring tasks, I will build out like mini checklists of, okay, if I need to work on my sales motion today, what does that mean? That's a big task. If I get interrupted in the middle of it and I come back and I don't have like a game plan, it's gonna be much harder for me to jump back in. So it's like, okay, think about prospecting, talk to Claude and quiz it on my positioning, make sure that if I'm gonna do a direct mailer, that we have to-dos for the direct, like all of that stuff is segmented and thought out ahead of time. Our gym mat is here. We have, we're doing a gym outside and we got mats. So, oh my gosh, it smells so good. Hold on. Other ways that you can build systems that optimize interruptibility and are built for resumability. I talked about the task lists. Write down SOPs if you can for things so things aren't just living in your head. This will also make it really easy if you're growing a business or a career to build a team underneath you if you have things written down the way that you do them. Timers are really helpful for me. There's like the Pomodoro method. There's a bunch of different ones. I think there's like a Pomodoro app, but I just set timers on my phone. I have a pretty good idea of how long something's gonna take me. So what I'll do is I'll be like, okay, I'm gonna, tire Betty out. Betty's my golden retriever, 3 years old, very hyper, very needy, very clingy. Love her to death. I'll go out in the yard with her for 20 minutes, set a timer. Okay, come back in, set a timer for 90 minutes, work for the 90 minutes, go outside for 10 minutes, come back in. And like within that 90-minute block, I try to get as much done as I possibly can, but I try to structure it. And finally, try to lean into async responses, and this will also help you as you build your big career or business because you don't want to be bound to your computer for real-time responses, especially if you're constantly dealing with interruptions. If you want something where you have resumability, you want to be able to respond async and not need to be 24/7 live responding. And finally, automate. Automate more than you need to because automation, so pets introduce this unpredictability to your routine, and automation is what's going to protect your delivery. So if you can automate as much of the recurring tasks as you possibly can, then when you do sit down and you do work, you can focus more on that deep work. And I can do a whole video. If anybody's interested, put it in the comments and I will make a video all about the automations that I use in my workday specifically. This is more that high level advice, but we can definitely dive deep if that's something that this audience would think is valuable. Productivity at home is never going to look like productivity in an office. However, I get so much more done as a work from home gal than I ever did in an office. And I did corporate cubicles and I did agency open concept life. I've worked in different in-person environments for several years. I look a lot younger than I am, for the record. So if you're trying to manufacture an office productivity space in your home and you have pets that distract you, you are fighting a losing battle. Just focus on resiliency, focus on resumability, and don't focus on perfection when you're building those at-home work systems. I would love to hear what your biggest work from home pet challenge is. I think a lot of them are just silly and funny, and maybe we can work through some of them together. Drop those in the comments. If this video is helpful, I would love a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button so you get notified every Saturday when I upload. And I encourage you to save it for your Sunday reset because these videos are meant to be your competitive edge going into the next week. See you next Saturday.